Hi everyone, it's Mo here, and today's video is all about Game Week 3 best buys. Now, if you're like me, you've got a couple of issues within your squad, whether it's Pedro, rotation risk, Gabriel, rotation risk, Stones, injured, and fresh injury news, Luke Shaw. Now, we need to resolve these, right? Let's run through what I think are the best buys. The first transfer I'm going to tell you about is Phil Foden, coming in at 7.6 million, and he's played 90 minutes in the first two games. For me, he looks a very exciting transfer. If you look at the stats beside me, you'll see his average positions and touch maps within the Newcastle game, where you could argue Newcastle are the best defensive team in the Premier League, and he ran the show. He was man of the match, he got an assist, and just looked awesome. If it wasn't for bad finishing by his teammates, he could have got a couple more returns. And what's more exciting, if you look at his next two fixtures, it's Sheffield United away and Fulham at home. I mean, you couldn't pluck two better fixtures for the best team in the Premier League, the best attacking team in the Premier League. It almost seems a no-brainer. The only negative we could say is what if Pep does a madness and drops him. I mean, you'd like to think that's almost impossible after the last performance, but hey, you know who we're talking about here. So my first transfer, Phil Foden, looks a winner to me. Best buy number 2 is going to be Ruben Diaz. Yep, a defender. Maybe not the most exciting, but necessary. With Luke Shaw picking up an injury and could be out for months, Gabriel rotation risk. I'm assuming we already have Chilwell and Stupinan. Why look further than 5.5 million Ruben Diaz? Came back, didn't play the first game, played against Newcastle and looked back to his best. Solid performance, and the next 5 fixtures look ridiculous. It has, for example, Sheffield United and Fulham, just 2 of the 5 coming up. I expect them to keep 3 to 4 clean sheets out of the 5. Yes, you're not going to get many attacking returns. I mean, you might get lucky from a set piece or a corner, but the reality is you're going to get probably the best defensive player at that City. The rest are more likely to get rotated. I think he might be the most nailed from that defense. You're paying a bit more for it, 0.5 more. The others are like 5 million, but I think it's money well spent for that stability, especially at a time of FPL. It's only 2 game weeks have gone, but there's a lot of, whether it's rotations on injuries, you want a player now, you don't mind if it's just 6 points, you'll take it. You know, if you can get 4-6 points in the next 5 game weeks, you will take that. I think it's money well spent. So that was my best buy number 2, Ruben Diaz. Best buy number 3 is going to be Nicholas Jackson. The £7 million Chelsea striker has been playing really, really well in the first 2 games. No goals, no assists. I know it's quite painful if you already owned him, but watching him, I think he's run his socks off. He's ran the channels. He's tried really hard. He's dropped deep at times to link up. If you look at his average positions and touches on the heat map, that was against West Ham. You see where he's trying to link play and join in, but I think he's been effective and dangerous enough in the final third, and you'd like to think with the next 3 fixtures, I think he's got Luton, Nottingham Forest and Bournemouth. Surely he delivers in these fixtures. I mean, if he doesn't, he will be labelled as Werner Mark II. I mean, the pros are that 90 minutes in both games, he looks certain to start. There's no competition, no threat, especially with the amount of injuries Chelsea's had recently. But then that could also be swung as a negative. He might be playing with just Sterling or Gallagher. Who knows what the front three is going to be? They've had a lot of injuries. It's going to be, it's a complete change team potentially from the front three against West Ham. So pros and cons to him, but I think at £7 million, if you're replacing Pedro, I think he's a lovely buy and I think he's worth the punt. No harm going there at all. That's my best buy number 3. Best buy number 4 is another centre-back, William Saliba. Best buy number 2 is Ruben Diaz, but if you don't fancy him, I recommend Saliba. If you're trying to fix Luke Shaw injury or a Gabriel rotation risk, why not go Saliba? 5.2 million. Got decent fixtures coming up. They've got Fulham, Manchester United, Everton, and I don't think he'll be a rotation risk. You've seen the quality of Saliba. I don't think even Arteta would dare touch him. I know he rotates a little bit and he'll move players around. I think Saliba's on the list of the untouchables. At 5.2 million, I think it's a no-brainer if you want a peace of mind. Loads were fortunate at the start of the season to get the information that Gabriel was injured. They've gone Saliba, but for us who didn't get that information, this is a perfect opportunity to rectify that. And last but not least, best buy number 5 for game week 3 is Julian Alvarez. Coming in at 6.6 million, the Manchester City striker although he's not playing striker at the moment, playing sort of as number 10 besides Foden, taking it in turns to drive into the box or drop deep and pick pockets so where they can keep possession. You know how City play. He's played the first 2 games, played 90 minutes in both, which was an eye-opener. Scored and got an assist and had excellent, solid performances. Next 2 fixtures, that's the fixtures we're targeting. Now, when I say to you, Alvarez, possibly not a long-term pick, but an aggressive short-term pick without a doubt. Sheffield United and Fulham, both of these 2 teams could get smashed to pieces. I'm talking 4, 5, 6. And we know Haaland, yeah, he most surely will gobble up at least 50% of them goals. But the others, he's the second likely player to get the goals and assists. So I really like this pick for a replacement for Pedro. Very aggressive pick. And if you're looking for the hauls and you're willing to take the gamble, I think this is the pick. Of course, it's quite scary, especially for someone like me who could be moving, say, from Pedro, who's got the instability, moving to Alvarez, who you could think, oh, any minute he could be dropped, as they've bought Doku, Bernardo's just signed a new contract, and they've got other players. Pep could just move players around, you know. They're so versatile within that squad. But I think this could be the pick for this game week. It really could, and whoever goes there, this could give you the haul to bring you that big green arrow. What do you think of my best buys for game week 3? I've given you 5 there. I'd love to know what you think. There's a couple of others I didn't mention. Depending on your team dynamics, you could have gone for the Spurs boy, the cheap Udigi, or you could have gone for Henry from Brentford. So there's a couple of other options, but I've gone for these 5 as my favourite. But of course, depending on your team dynamics, how much transfers you've got, what situation you're in, and budget, you might not agree with this. I'd love to know what you think, what moves you're going to do. So yeah, put that in the comments. I'd appreciate any feedback. Of course, like and subscribe the video. I told you I'm going to be doing more consistent videos now, hopefully. So yeah, appreciate any feedback.